Pharaoh from 1980 and remade in this book. It was reprinted in 1982 actually as well. Written by Tracy and Laura Hickman, who later released Ravenloft. But this Pharaoh adventure takes place in the Desert of Desolation in southeastern Faerun. As the PCs plod through the deserts, days and days worth of blistering heat. Water is scarce because of a curse on Bakar, which is the area they're in, all because of a long dead pharaoh called Amun-Sa, or however you want to say it really. Do they walk unaided, these rings representing your players, or are they on camels or mules or something? So these are basic Amazon double-sided, very useful. A 3-pack I got with that, different types of areas. Some sort of desert in Big Book of Battle Maps, Wrecks and Ruins. This larger section's one giant book of battle maps from Loki Battle Mats, who just won't give me an affiliate link, but I love these maps anyway. What I normally do is I will fire the maps in the module to my television, yoink, and then draw out what I need to room by room for their minis. This module wants us to play out 2 days worth of travel before we get to the actual adventure proper. So let's have a quick look at the random encounters table we provided. We have 2 boulettes which leap from the sand underneath. We have a mirage which lures them into quicksand. A dust storm housing an air elemental and 8 dust mephits. 4 gricks in the sand? That one feels a bit out of place to me. An Efreeti who wants worship. And finally 2 wyverns circling above like vultures. A man in tattered clothing approaches, revealing himself to be a ghost, who tells a tale of a curse and wealth. Yes, wealth, that's an incentive right there. He has one long spiel that he can go on about. And he just repeats that text box if pushed for information. He's a recording, he's cursed, he's on a loop. If they push for more information, he can just disappear. He fades away. Yeah, players can kill him. They won't fight back because, annoyingly, he'll just appear again and start saying the same old thing. So eventually they make it to the pyramid and Amun-Sa walks off to find more potential releases of the curse. With a history check, they might recall that the Fountain of Athis used to be a life spring of healing waters. A fountain, to be specific. Inside the pyramid, there is no light unless there are some, but generally darkness. And all the walls have hieroglyphics on. In the pyramid, they will find pockets of water which will cure the poisoned condition, as well as all levels of exhaustion. Spell mechanics inside this place mean you can't pass through walls, you can't change the shape of the stones, so that's off the table. As is teleportation. So I'd really think about crossing off Misty Step as well in case they get any funny, clever ideas. Obviously, it's all up to you. I just think that works in line with any sort of Misty Step and teleportation being off, you know, the allowance table. The module is a bunch of clay in your hands to mould how you want. So you can't be wrong. The opening areas of this pyramid were made to trick raiders into thinking it had already been raided, nothing to find here. But secret doors actually lead deeper. At the top of the stairs are 2 bandit captains, Atzez and Patchy. These are members of the Tears of Athis. They didn't expect travellers at night, which the module states it is. I really don't see why it can't be day and they didn't expect travellers out in the middle of nowhere. It still works. 2. They see a statue of Amun-Sa, recognising him. And they are met by Ayaseda, the leader of the Tears of Athis, and I may well forget how I just pronounced that, but you get the idea. 5 other people trying to repair plastering to a wall with drawings and hieroglyphics on. There's a secret door behind the statue. If I have secret doors clearly up on the TV, my players still have to roll to find it. Now, yeah, there are player maps, but my players understand it's just, you know, it's another hurdle that we can jump over. we all want to see as much of the campaign as is available and they choose. So Secret Door doesn't really bother me being brought to the fore, but also sometimes it also is fun. So I could just draw this top level and hope it doesn't take too long, but literally all they're going to say is, okay, I searched this wall, I'll search this wall, oh well I'll search this wall, and it's, who? That's just not interesting, is it? Ayaseda doesn't know about Amunsar's ghost out there in the desert. But why didn't that ghost greet this bunch of people coming here 2 days ago? That doesn't make any sense. So maybe cross that out. Yeah, we saw a guy in tattered robes, we ran away. These people want to repair the dried up River Athis, and the wall's hieroglyphs essentially talk about passing into the afterlife and about grave robbers and having your tomb raided. So an unrobbable tomb was built. Area 3, the people's camp beds surround the statue in this room, which conceals another secret door. For another statue lit by continual flame specifically. A bowl burns with a magical fire, which was invented for food and drink to be passed down to original priests. This is actually the way that you get teleported into the real depths below. So all you have to say is it burns bright like a massive fire. Maybe allow a perception check to see twinklings of, wait, this looks like magical fire rather than fire. Otherwise, onwards. Area 5, a circular walled cylinder, which has the still waters of Athis. 6, this is just like 5, but filled with gushing water that evaporates as quickly as it's entered because of the curse. This is why the fountain outside was dry. Area 7, another worship room with another statue and another secret door. Area 8, the corridor descends as you go deeper in. 9, there's 7 statues of Amunsar with an altar in the centre with an impression of a pair of hands. Someone has written Amunsar all over, giving you the hint that put your hands in, Seum Amunsar. 1 secret door opens leading to a gas chamber, which is no longer working, and another leads to 10. 10 is another downward corridor to a room where all the walls have been smashed off, the hieroglyphics shattered on the floor, to look like it's already been raided. It's all fakery. But this room leads to a broken door into 11, where more rubble surrounds a chest and 2 vases. All 3 are mimics, which actually I'm a fan of. That sounds fun. 12. This false area ends in a fake tomb, with an empty sarcophagus, with hieroglyphics which say, "You're too late," which is weird. Why would somebody raid it and then bother to type hieroglyphics all over the wall, only to then break them to make it look like it doesn't make sense? Unless I've misunderstood it and it simply is someone's painted "You're too late" as if by robbers. But my notes say it was in hieroglyphics. Anyway, to continue onwards, they have to step into that portal of fire in Area 4. Once that's understood, they end up on level 2, the Maze of Mists, where a random encounter table gives you things like phase spiders, invisible stalkers, ghouls and minotaurs. I don't know if I'm going to do the stats. I'm torn because the stats are changing from this monster manual to the newer one. However, some of the ones in the back of here may not get reprinted to the 2024 stats. Let me know, do I bother doing the stats? Do I very quickly summarise the stats? Do I just leave them out? What's the deal? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want from me? 13, they arrive in a sulphur-smelling room with 4 exits and they all have orange mists in. 4 levers all point down and a skeleton of a dead guy points to one of the exits, the western one. Any lever forced up causes a magnet in the roof to yoink people wearing armour or metal items upwards. I quite like the idea of having spikes somewhere on the roof too. Is that too much? So, lever goes back down, they plummet, and then Area 14. The mists, even if they all go through the same western exit, split them up. The map is off the telly, it's off the board as they get disorientated. They're placed in random corridors, all labelled 14. Do you go left or right? You're at a junction, left, right, straight ahead. Doesn't really matter, you'll get them all together. But there's a list of things that they can find in their solo exploration. Maybe you have them all roll a d6 and have them pair up. You both rolled a 2, you meet up, you both rolled a 3, you meet up, and then a little bit more exploring, roll a d6 everybody, and eventually when they all have rolled a 3, they're back together. You need them back together. In 15, there's 5 what look like elves, but they're actually doppelgangers, but they're posing as mourners of these horrible faces smashed in corpses, which are actually the people they're impersonating who they have already killed and stolen their appearance. It's pretty cool, really. Who do you trust? Not the doppelgangers, because they'll try and separate the players and kill them one at a time, and then clone them, giving hilarious consequences. How would you play that out? I guess you'd have your players play along with it, and then the dead player would use the doppelganger stats realistically, or would they take on the... Up to you, not my issue. Area 16. The Hands of Plenty. A set of 7 bandits got lost while trying to raid this place, and they desperately want help getting out. But if they tag along with the party and decent treasure gets put before their eyes, they will kill the party to steal it. Area 17, this is kinda cool. There's a chest on a rug of smothering. The chest contains 3 more rugs of smothering. I love that. 18, there's a gynosphinx, that's how I'm saying it, next to a well which leads up to, well, actually leads up and down. I think more of it like a energy lift. It's Minecraft water. Senanura will offer a riddle, as they do, in return for 1 answer to a question. The Sphinx knows all, so a good question could make this easier. Just have fun with that. I don't know whether you want Sphinx stats. I don't think I've ever done Gynosphinx. It's not going to be Gynosphinx, is it? I'm doing it. Large monstrosity, AC 17, 136 average health, can fly a lot. It's not going to fly though, you're not going to get any of that. Are they really going to attack it? Look, it has a bunch of spells. It makes 2 claw attacks. It has legendary actions. I'm moving on. 19. 90 spears shoot 10 at a time for 28 average piercing around. 10, 28 piercing, 28 piercing. Pinning the players to the north wall on a failed save, along with the 4 humanoid skeletons that are already pinned up there. There's a chest with 250 platinum pieces in it. That sounds heavy, but maybe not. 20. A £2,000 stone will fall on them from above. Well, any person who stands on this X, carved into the floor. It's 10d10 bludgeoning damage. Boom! 21. A pendulum, which will be set in motion by an invisible stalker, doing 4d10 slashing. The damage reduces by 1d10 for each consecutive swing. It activates the blade on initiative 20. That's when it does its slash. Now there's a door that can be accessed up above on a ledge, which baffled me at first, but sickos in this building can gather above across various rooms and look down into these pits, these rooms, and watch adventurers or other greedy idiots take on the traps from an observing platform. So a lot of these have that, and I'll kind of flick over it because, you know, that's all there is to it. But some of them have corridors leading to other rooms, because that's so if somebody did fly up, it could mean that you really have to have good knowledge of the map or put it on your TV, or just bear that in mind, they can wander willy-nilly almost. Right, Area 22. 3 minotaurs pace around a straw mound, their food I guess, in a blood-soaked room. There's actually a lot of gold coins in that straw mound, if they really have time to go get them. Minotaurs, AC 14, not very high. I mean, over 100 full health, but we'll call it 76 from the book. It charges at you, does some extra damage. It can gain advantage being in a reckless mode. 17 average slashing, 13 gore, in a nutshell. Is that how I should do it? Area 23, a room full of magical darkness that can't be penetrated by dark vision, but some things get around it. It hides a locked chest containing 3 identical bottles, 2 of which are healing potions. Greater healing potions? No, 2 healing potions and 1 potion of poison. And then 2 black puddings will slop down from the ceiling. And it's magical darkness, don't forget. How do the monsters see in the magical darkness? 2 black puddings. Blind sight, that's the deal. Hopefully the players can't see and these can just sense. 24. Roll initiative when people are inside and the doors slam shut. On initiative count 20, the walls 4d10. Bludgeoning and restrain your players as the walls crush 3 times, 3 rounds. On initiative 20, 3 rounds. But there's an enticing illusion of a knapsack for greedy players. Have that be the thing that they see first. 25. An empty room or a rest room, or simply to mess with the players' minds. What's this used for? 26. A spear trap from floor to ceiling has activated. A dwarf has dropped gems worth 300 gold each. Cutting the spears is noisy, but you can get to that observatory platform above I spoke about. 27. A secret door on the ledge above, and the room seems to have 3 flame skulls in. Fireball! That's the first thing I think of with flame skulls. Now in other modules I've seen flame skulls, but they deal necrotic, such as that. So if you know that your player's like, I'm a tiefling, I'm completely immune to fire, I think they was probably just resistant. But if you want to change it to necrotic, because that'll get most people, change it. Cold damage, whatever. Force damage. 28. A cloaker lurks on the ceiling. There's a secret door again. Blah, blah, blah. Observatory, blah, blah, blah. And then floor 3, or the halls of the upper priesthood, begins. There's a random encounters table for you to implement as you please. But the book suggests you roll on it for every hour on this floor. You could set a timer for 30 minutes, a literal hour, depending on the speed of your game. Or you could say after every 3 rooms this thing comes. Various options. And I'm not your DM. 29. There's a pool in here which they might stumble upon, or indeed surface from inside of, from the Sphinx room. 30. A compass is carved into the floor which can help orientate the party, because they don't know which way north is, supposedly. The corridor is half filled with water, so it is shaped. Maybe they walk on it and feel it with their boots and unevenness. 32. A lush garden with magical sunlight, because the sun's not really coming in. It's a sight to behold. All the fruit acts like butterflies, taking flight. The magic doesn't last. 33. 2 granite altars sit in an octagonal room of palm trees and pineapples. I imagine the sound of birds tweeting still. Each altar has a hand imprint and hieroglyphics saying float, reverse, negate, which all controls the gravity here. The plants explode in a grenade-like fashion. It's possible to hear this tapping sound, metallic tapping, coming from Prit the Gnome in 54. 34. A gazelle-headed statue will manifest a potion of necrotic resistance if it's told a secret. Or it stands in a shushing pose, maybe like that. 35. A 9-foot tortoise statue cups its ear to hint at sound. A musical offering grants a potion of necrotic resistance. 36 is 4 leather sacks, each with 100 gold pieces in each. 37. 2 dead wights covered in arrows and killed by sword stabs also. 38. 2 wraiths haunt this hall. 39. Just dried blood coating the walls and floor, ceiling, whatever. 40. A long abandoned kitchen with a silver hand axe to be found. Silver being relevant to certain undead, you see. Check your stats on your monsters for that. 41. An empty pantry. 42 is a dwarf skeleton who was killed by a cleaver to the chest. All the spoons are missing. That's a clue at Prit and his spoon obsession. We'll get to that. 43. A smashed up plaster mess, as someone used spoons to dig a tunnel into the ceiling cracks. 44 is a corridor covered walls and floor with hieroglyphics about someone called Nafik, evidently a former high priest here. 45, behind black drapes, there's 4 cells. They're dirty. 46, 2 mummies burst out of 2 sarcophagi, which face each other to begin with. 47, a knight called Uma fights 7 ghasts. She shouts for help, and if they do, you might have an NPC to run. Now, running NPCs might sound like a lot if you're not up to doing that. Sometimes I run them properly. Generally speaking, my players don't even talk to them, and I have to just keep reminding them that they're there. Sometimes my NPCs don't even get into the initiative order, sometimes they do. Sometimes I say, look, the NPC's there, just give yourself advantage on your attacks, if there's plenty of NPCs. There are options to fill in the idea that there's an extra member. Maybe they stand back and if anyone drops, they'll administer a healing potion. Just have a think about what if they pick up somebody extra. Because you've already had that gang looking for a way out. There could be a dozen extra NPCs. I'd just say, look, you have advantage on your attacks, but not spells, maybe. And every now and again, you can just say, in this battle, 1d4's worth of NPCs were slain. That's my 2 pence worth. 48, a giant black stone with 12 doors to inside it. They're all shaped like sarcophagi. Inside is 5 whites and an unlocked chest with 800 gold. 49, 2 sarcophagi facing each other again. One has a harmless skeleton in, and one is a secret door that leads to a dead end. This adventure is meant to make them feel all turned around and lost, and there's no sign of daylight, so they don't know which way's up, which way's down. They do know that, but it's a maze of corridors. They don't know exactly where they are, and this is possible to one shot, right? Or doing one campaign, a one-off. So all this gold they're finding, the characters might be never used again. I always think that's sometimes quite frustrating. You do the starter set box, oh, you've got all this stuff, all right, that game's over. What? But I just got my rings of resilience or whatever. Which I like, is why I like the idea of the bastions coming in, so that you can travel back there and store their stuff. Anyway, that's just a thought I had. Are we on 50? 50. 3 wraiths hiss at a holy mace lying on the floor. It's a mace of disruption. It does 2d6 extra radiant against fiends or undead and can destroy them when under 25 hit points. I've wrote that it heals, can frighten and sheds bright light. I think what I meant to say is just can destroy them when under 25 hit points and can frighten and sheds bright light. I do undead having and fiends having a vulnerability to radiant damage, and it's just a bit of give and take I have with my players. Does radiant do double damage? Yeah, it makes sense to me and makes sense to all of us. But yeah, they can mash through undead quite quick. But on the flip side, it's give and take, because sometimes I find myself doing an illegal move that I shouldn't have done. The recharging on a 4, 5 or 6 or whatever. Sometimes I just do it and I think, look, I'm just trying to give a good experience here. The rules get a little fuzzy over my side of the screen. So if they're mashing through monsters, it's fine. We're all having fun. You don't need to comment. 51. 3 fallen adventurers are covered in moth-eaten blankets. I guess you can put things in their pockets, or that's it. 52. A statue of Amun-Sa with an enticing gem, which is actually worthless. It's in the forehead. So this works as an alarm when removed, so pull out a monster of your choice to come when that alarm goes off. There's a trapdoor to 22 and another compass rose in the floor to give them a kind of a clue which way is north, if that makes any difference. 53, the observation domes and a table. Let me remind myself. Ah yeah, we're at the gauntlet. 54. This is where we find The spoon-tunnelling gnome. Play him comically obsessed with spoons. He has 112 different spoons. Giving him a lisp might be an easy way into humour. And absolutely nothing against people with lisps. Lisps are cool. I'm just saying, I'm bailing out of this conversation. In 55, there's a chill in the corridor and more hieroglyphs saying, Nafik is beyond this point. Where was I? 56, a well-lit hall which rises with stairs and levels, and Nafik stands next to a bronze upright fist. Nafik sounds cool, and he's also protected by this animated metal bronze fist. Use the fist inventively for better results. This is what I talk about, how I bend the rules. So you've got boom, you've got palm shield for Nafik, you've got grapple players, you've got boink, flick players across the room, crush players. You can do the damage. Oh, so it doesn't actually do damage. Mine's going to do damage. It's brass, let's say 2d12 worth of damage for whatever it does. Let's look at Nafik's stats at least, eh? Oh, he looks proper cool. His AC's only 13. I bet 82 health is not enough to make this fun. So his full health, without getting my calculator, 121. I just like the look of him so much. I think I would probably either double his health or not give him health at all and just have him last until he's done some cool things and then the players kill him in a cool way. He is vulnerable to fire. You just have to explain what's happening. He's immune to necrotic and poison. He legendary resists. He's only got 2. So his rotting fists, 11 bludgeoning damage, 21 necrotic. DC 14 con save. The creature must succeed or be cursed. Can't regain health, and the health decreases. He's got an unholy beam like coming from his eyes or something. 28 necrotic damage, and then the next roll has advantage. Dreadful glare. Maybe that's the eye thing. Glares at them, they feel this tingling and have to make a save. You can cast insect plague, let's say, out of his mouth. Just make it cool, because he looks awesome. Each landing even has its own traps, such as fire, ochre jellies, shadows, for each player. And so this just sounds so cool. Just thinking out loud here, I always like the idea of like stacking up some books under this, so they've got a level here and a level here, and maybe going up so that we can actually play on these levels by putting something underneath. Also, the water on this map just flushes them down if they fall in and smashes them. 2d6 bludgeoning, not much. 57, a 10-foot column of water pours into an opening. A deep voice speaks in here once Nafak is killed. A once grimy room now reveals a question mark. There's a table. Any lies make you take 10d8 lightning. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Then you place your hand in another impression, and the water changes direction. So up to 65. 58. An untitled book shows you how to become a mummy lord through rituals. It lies on a dirty slab in the middle of the room. 59. A stagnant water pool at first that has 3 water weirds in. In the pool is 110 platinum pieces in a waterproof bag. Now, all these areas are, if encountered before Nafak is dead, are grimy and cursed-ish. So then if Nafak dies, there's a kind of a release of some part of this pollution. 60, just furniture, nothing of value. 61, dining room. With ornate silverware, but no spoons. Who's took all the spoons? 62, 2 earth elementals digging a tunnel here. 63, the room is full of 6 sarcophagi, but has signs that the undead have broken out of these places of rest. 64, there's 2 earth elementals guarding a jar with Nafak's heart in. The heart is beating. Killing the heart will stop Nafak's rejuvenation trait. Last wish. When he drops to 0 health, his body disintegrates into a whirl of multiversal dust that surrounds one creature responsible for his demise. That creature then hears Nafas's last wish for the creature to take his place. If the creature accepts, it is transformed into a noble genie. Is that what they're talking about? Destroying Nafik. His heart resides in Area 64. To vanquish the High Priest for good, the characters must destroy the heart. If Nafak is reduced to 0 hit points while his heart remains intact, he cackles, crumbles to ash, knowing he will rise again. Yeah, fine.
The Tomb of Amun-Sa.
A water shaft lifts you up in 65. In 66. There's a boat with jars in. A mural shows a boat on clouds. Arcana checks reveal magic. It will teleport them to this boat above the pyramid. But couldn't they just fly up? You know, when they're walking to the pyramid right at the beginning, wouldn't they just look up and say, there's a boat up there? So I guess you have like clouds over the top of the pyramid, which is weird in a desert, or you can't see it, it's hidden by invisible magic stuff. They teleport up. 67. They'll see a floating boat 30 feet from the portal. The Mopolar gem can be seen, which is one of the items you need. Falling 10,000 feet does 20d6 bludgeoning damage and they're prone. In my games, if you fall that far, 50d6 is the max. You dead. Mopolar is a gem of seeing. The vases in here equate to 21,000 platinum pieces. How heavy is that? Or is that a 2,000? Is that a comma and not a 21? Makes more sense. 2,000 platinum. 68. A grand... Mind you, you could have 21,000 and just say, look, you can't lift all that. I don't know. 68. A grand sarcophagi with a golden staff on it, which is a staff of rulership or staff of ruling. See Appendix A. Staff of ruling. When you're holding it, use an action to do one of these. Orb of lightning. Create a small orb of light. Concentrate on it. As a bonus action, you can move it. And then it detonates wherever you want it. DC 15 dex save. Lightning damage equal to the total accumulated damage. The base damage is 66. And if it hasn't done it at the end of your turn, you can hang on to it. It goes up to a max of 10d6. That's good. That's like delayed blast fireball a little bit. Staff to snake. Throw the staff. It turns into a giant poisonous snake. Thunderclap. Point towards the sky, producing a fearsome thunderclap. DC 15 con save. Deafened and frightened. Or sell it for a chunk load of cash. Then they are teleported to P2, where they say, is the curse lifted? Cutscene. The end.